listening to, I say you are listening to, you are absolutely listening to the George Espinlove Show, coming to you live from the Funny Farm. Now, with no further ado, here comes Georgie!
Thank you. Thank you very much. Some of you are so excited you're standing on your head and clapping your feet. I like that. That gives me that warm, fuzzy feeling. Welcome to the George Espinlove Show. To all of our friends down the street, around the corner, across this great nation, and around the world, I trust that you will have a very enjoyable time. Is that right? That's not even good English, is it? I trust that you will have a very wonderful time. Yeah. Here on the show tonight, we have a man that has written a book that's going to tell us parts of a story. Really, the story needs to be told. Not many people know the story. In fact, it's a story untold until Mr. Darrell Lester came along and wrote this book. But we'll hear more from him in just a moment. We thank you so very much. We've gotten tons of email, and we thank you so very, very much. And we're busy just to typing it back. You know what I mean? Sending it back to you. And we're sending it back to you with love, because we sure do appreciate our listeners. Whether you listen to us live or you come in later and listen to the podcast later, that's perfectly all right. We're getting emails from people that does both. Some listen live, some come in later. Some listen live and go back and listen to it again. But we appreciate each and every one of you that are listening, that will listen, that are sending us emails, that will send us emails. We are just so appreciative of each and every one of you, because without you, it would be needless to sit behind this microphone every single night and put on a show. Email me if you haven't already. If you have, just email me again. George C.E. That's George C.E. at Comcast.net. And share with me where you're at and, anything else you want to say. But we are delighted that people are continuing. In fact, it's growing each and every day. Thank you so very, very much. We come to you live from the Funny Farm Monday through Friday in a place called Our World, which we have no idea where it is. We don't care where it is. We don't have a specific mailing address. We just have that email address, georgece at Comcast.net. So we appreciate every single one of you. We have some great shows lined up, and we'll get more about that after our guest leaves tonight. As Charlie always says, and I want to say thank you to Charlie, kind of overlook Charlie sometimes, but nonetheless, Charlie, we appreciate you. We thank you. You do such a good job at what you do. He's the announcer, the co-host. He runs the board over there. He agitates me, he irritates me, and he makes me laugh. And sometimes he does all three of those things at the same time. So thank you so very, very much, Charlie. I appreciate you. Everyone here at the radio studio appreciates you, and we love you to death. See what I mean? Okay. All right. And as Charlie... Thank you. Charlie thanks you. He's in here bowing. As Charlie always says, most of the time, with no further ado, we're going to bring our guest on, Mr. Darrell Lester, and he has something to tell us. Darrell, welcome to the George Espinlaub Show.
Thank you, George.
It's a delight to have you. And as we were talking before we went on the air, it's a story that, well, for the most part, nobody knows about. But yet, once you start reading about it, it just kind of grips you. Give us a little bit about your background.
Well, my background is that as a young kid right out of college, I started at Publishers Clearinghouse as a entry-level position when the company was still a small mom-and-pop company. It was in 1973, and I spent 30 years there. And I ended my career about 10 years ago when I retired at a young age. And when I stopped working there, I was a senior vice president and an officer of the company. And I've been told I know more about Publishers Clearinghouse than any other man alive. And that's sort of why I decided I need to put this story in writing. And it's a story that nobody knows. The media doesn't know. The consumer doesn't know. Believe it or not, most of the Publishers Clearinghouse employees don't know the whole story about Publishers Clearinghouse because we kept them in the dark.
Wow.
We did a lot of things that were secretive. We didn't want everybody to know what we were doing. So it's a great story, and I'm proud to share it with the consumers out there at this point.
And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, Romans, and countrymen, do yourself a favor and go to PCHbook.com, PCHbook.com, and there you can read all about it. Where can they get the book, Darrell?
Well, you can get it at Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com.
Okay.
But the easiest way is just to Google PCH Book. That's one word, and you go to my book's website. And on the website, then you can click on either Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com and purchase the book, and it'll get delivered to you in a couple of days.
All righty. Isn't this modern technology neat?
Yeah, fascinating.
Yeah, for us older folks, it is really fascinating. The company started, and correct me if I'm wrong, what, 1953?
Correct. The company started in 1953, and it was started by Harold Mertz and his wife, Louesta Mertz. And it started literally in the basement of their home in Port Washington in 1953. And the idea was actually ingenious. And Harold Mertz actually was in his 50s when he started the business. So he already had a business career, and he decided to start this company. And the idea was simply to sell magazine subscriptions through the mail in a group. Up to that point, magazine subscriptions were only sold one at a time, and mostly with door-to-door salesmen going to your home, but they'd only offer you one magazine. Harold Mertz's idea was to put them in a group, and he also decided instead of using the door-to-door salesman, he'd use the United States Postal Service. And that was his original idea in 1953.
That, as I sit here now in 2013, I'm thinking, wow, that was a brilliant. Did we lose him? Darrell, are you there?
I'm here.
Mertz.
Yeah, Harold Mertz. M-E-R-T-Z is his last name.
Did he have to? Obviously, he had to contact all these magazine companies to get the deal running before he ever did anything, right?
Well, he did, although the first mailing that he did in the 50s was very simple. It actually only had an outer envelope. It had a flyer and a letter, and that was it. There was no contest. There was no sweepstakes. There was no stamp sheet with stamps to lick and stick. And there were only 21 magazines that were offered in his first mailing as well. Eventually, we got to over 100 or 150, and we got to the point where every magazine in the country has been promoted in our mailings at one point in time. But it started with just 21 magazines.
So by the time you got there, what, 20 years later, 1970, in the basement of the home, I assume.
They had moved a couple of times to bigger offices. Actually, in the early 70s, about a year or two before I started, Mr. Mertz put up his own huge building in Port Washington, and where they're still housed today, actually. And that was built in the early 70s. When I started, it was a building that had a lot of empty desks. When I started in 73, it was still a mom-and-pop business. There were no more than maybe 100 employees at that point, and about 75 of them were simply clerical workers or customer service people. So at that time, it was still a mom-and-pop business, but we grew, and I was there at the right time because we grew for 50 straight years, from 1953 until 50 years later. The company grew every year until we hit some legal trouble. And we grew, and this is the kind of thing that nobody knows. The media, or the news, used to ask the management team at PCH, well, how big are you? How much money do you make? How many consumers are you mailing every year? And we never told them what our financials were. We never even told our employees what they were, because we got to be so big and so profitable, we didn't want anybody to know. And I disclose all that information in my book, and for example, I'll give you one little glimpse of the information. At our peak in the early 1990s, Publishers Clearinghouse became, this small mom-and-pop business became one of the most profitable, the top, I guess what I would call it is we were in the top 25 of the most profitable private companies in the entire country. And that was only with a couple hundred employees.
Wow.
We actually got to the point in the early 1990s where we hit over $1 billion in sales. That's not a million. We hit over $1 billion in annual sales in the early 1990s at our peak.
Wow.
So we got to be very big.
So you went in as a young man out of college. What was your position? Where did you start at?
I was a marketing analyst. So basically, there was, as I said, if there were 100 employees, there were maybe 75 clerical or customer service workers. There were maybe 12 people in management, and then there were maybe another 10 or 12 people that gave management the information they needed to help run the company. Ran the computers, but so I was a marketing analyst. My job when I started was to report on the results of our mailings to the management team. And that's how I started there as a young kid right out of college.
And back then, of course, I say back then, we didn't have lightning fast information available like we do today. So in your job, you guys had to kind of use the tools that you had, but you still had to hammer out the figures and the analysis to give to upper management, right?
Right. I mean, in the early 70s, computers weren't really around, so everything was done manually. Even the orders and non-orders that we processed were all done manually. And over the years, we got to, use very big computers. Everything's computerized. Everything's automated now. When you order or non-order, it comes in on machines and it sorts it out. And so computers and automation have taken its role and helped Publishers Clearinghouse grow, because we would not have been able to handle the volume that we did manually like we did in the early 70s. One of the funny stories I like to tell in the book is, we got to a point where we didn't have a lot of employees, but we were growing so big that we couldn't really handle all the orders and non-orders that were coming in. And we got to a point where we were getting, and this is unheard of, we were getting 2 million responses a day, every day, for 3 weeks in a row.
Wow.
And the building could only fit maybe 500,000. and we could only process maybe 300,000. So there was so much paper that needed to be processed, that had to get stored, that there was no space for. It was a nightmare in terms of, it was a good nightmare.
Yeah.
In terms of results, but we didn't have the people to handle the amount of orders and non-orders we were getting. We were growing so fast. But computers and automation helped that over time.
Was Publishing Clearinghouse the first or one of the first companies that did this with magazines, and then eventually I guess they went into the sweepstakes along with the magazines? Were they first or one of the first?
Well, yes, we were, in terms of grouping magazines together or selling magazine subscriptions with using the Postal Service, Publishers Clearinghouse was the first. And we really had no competition for our first 30 years in business. Now, we didn't have a sweepstakes when we first started.
Right.
The sweepstakes actually started in 1967. We actually borrowed that idea. The owner and founder, Harold Mertz, was not opposed to borrowing good ideas from other companies. And he saw Reader's Digest doing a sweepstakes. And he said, you know what, they've done it for more than a year now. It must be working for them. So in 1967, PCH tried its very first sweepstakes. Now, George, are you sitting down?
Yes, sir, I am.
The odds of winning the big prize in our first contest in 1967 was a whopping 1 in 10. Every 10th person won the big prize back in that first year that we did the contest.
1
so we've
in
come
10.
a long way over the years.
1 in 10.
1 in 10 people won our big prize back then.
Wow, that's incredible. Man, I wish we had those odds today, but they're long gone.
Well,
go ahead.
Well, you know, when you talk about the odds today, and it's really kind of interesting. The book tells you about what the odds of winning are today and what they used to be, and it gives a lot of secrets that nobody really knows. And for example, the management team at Publishers Clearinghouse has been asked over and over again, or has been joked about, it's probably more likely you'll be struck by lightning than win the PCH prize. The media, the news used to say that all the time, jokingly. And we always used to shake our head at PCH when we heard that. But I will admit, and this will be the first time a management person at PCH will admit this, today, it is more likely that you would be struck by lightning than win the PCH Big Prize.
Wow.
The odds are not too good these days that you will win. So I will admit that. And those are the kind of secrets that are in the book.
Now, I'm reading on the webpage here, you never intended to write a book, but after spending half your life in secretive hallways of Publishing Clearinghouse, you know, that fascinates me. In the secretive hallways of Publishing Clearinghouse, how did they keep, I mean, nowadays we have leaks and we have leaks on purpose and all these other things. How did they keep things close to the vest so tight?
Well, we didn't want to let everybody know, not even the employees, how good we were doing. We didn't want our suppliers to know how good we were doing, because then they'd ask for fee increases and et cetera. We didn't want everybody to know our test results. So it was a struggle to keep things a secret. But for the most part, we were pretty good at keeping things very close to the vest. Sure, things leaked out from time to time. You know, there were times when we would walk employees out of the building if we heard they were talking to a competitor or something like that. We would do that. We would simply let them go, walk them out. Unacceptable. We really didn't want people to learn our business. And so we were pretty good at keeping things secretive. You know, George, you say I never intended to write a book, and I say that on my website. And I retired about 10 years ago, and after several years, I got a little bored, and I've been asked a couple of times, why I wrote the book, etc. And I spent over half my life there, and the story of Publishers Clearinghouse, I've been told by some advertising executives, is after they read the book, they said it's one of the greatest stories of the marketing stories of the 20th century. It's a story that nobody knows. Nobody knows better than I do, who was there for 30 years, who started from the bottom, worked my way to the top, knows all of their deep, dark secrets, mostly revealed in my book at this point. But I wrote the book as a legacy for my family and friends. And it's not just a business story. It's a story that the business world is going to love and the news media is going to love, but the average consumer is going to love. It's what went on inside those walls were hilarious. And I say that because the management team, and I say this in my book, and I give lots of examples of the management team at Publishers Clearinghouse, I can describe them in two words: eccentric and mischievous. They love to play practical jokes. And there are many stories in the book about jokes some of the top people played on other people, and it really is it's an hilarious tale of what happened inside those walls as we were growing and succeeding, and also, when we started to fail. So it's I hope everybody will find it interesting. I've gotten great reviews on it so far.
And ladies and gentlemen, please go to PCH Book, all one word, PCHbook.com, and there you can order the book from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and it to use an Espinlab term, it's a doozy. So
thank you, George.
Yeah, so get that, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, you won't want to put it down. That's all I can say. You were told that you'll probably get sued, or the lawyers of the company would probably come after you. Did they come after you when you wrote your book?
Well, I don't want to say too much about that, but I will say that they did come after me. I will say that I know the lawyers there very well. I worked with them for 20, 30 years. So I know exactly how they were going to react to me writing the book. I knew they weren't going to like it. I knew they would threaten to sue me. They did threaten to sue me. They threatened to keep me in court for a very long time. But I really don't want to say much about it. I decided, in spite of that, I was going to leave this as a legacy for my family and friends. I'm happy to report that to date they haven't sued me. So that's good news.
I got you. When were the employees compensated nicely?
Absolutely, yes. The company, the company was making so much money. We went way beyond the dreams of the owners or management team in terms of sales and profits of the company. Their best dream was nowhere near how great we became in terms of our profit level at one point in time. So yes, we took care of the employees extremely well. The higher up in the ladder you were, the better we took care of you. Bonus structures, secret bonus structures, lots of different things like that. But yes, the owners of the company believed in taking care of the employees. I'll tell you one little strange little thing the owner of the company instituted to give you an example of what kind of person this was. I don't know of any other company that has done this. Every week, every employee would get fresh flowers on their desk. Do you know any other company, George, that has done that?
No, sir, I don't.
Now, we did stop doing that when the company got into legal trouble and we started losing money and et cetera, et cetera. But for the first, I'd say, 50 years, flowers were on every employee's desk once a week.
Wow. There was when they started the sweepstakes back then, and I remember my dad always played Reader Digest sweepstakes because he wanted to get that red Cadillac, and we used to poke fun at him when we'd go home, and all but my one daughter, and she would say, "Pappy, I'm with you. I'm rooting for you." And he'd say, "Well, then you're the only one that's going to ride in my red Cadillac." Of course, he never got his red Cadillac, but he played. When you all started the sweepstake, and did the company really start to roll after you start? Even more so after you started it?
Well, what happened is we started, as I said, the odds were really in your favor, but the top prize was very small, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But the sweepstakes was a huge success, and actually there's an interesting story about it that really nobody really knows this, but the sweepstakes was tested, and in the direct mail business, you can actually test to see the value of how things are, and if they do good, then you roll them out. If they don't good, then you don't go forward with it. Well, the sweepstake gave us a huge increase in sales and profits. And 1967, I'm speculating there might have been 40 employees in the company at the time. And Harold Mertz, the owner, called his management team together, and there were basically 10 of them. And he brought them all into the room, and he said to them, and I'm going to quote Harold Mertz in 1967, "Whoever in this room wants to continue with sweepstakes and ruin my business, raise your hand." Now, Harold Mertz was somebody who you didn't disagree with.
Uh-huh.
So when he said that, he meant it. And there were 10 very eccentric and powerful people at that meeting, and 9 of them were completely silent. One person raised their hand. His name is John Minnick, and he was the youngest guy in the room. And he was a writer, actually. He was a creative guy. He was the youngest guy in the room, and he raised his hand, and he gave his argument for why he believed the test result and we should continue doing sweepstakes. And Harold Mertz agreed to continue it for at least another year and then to reevaluate it. Well, after the year, there was no going back. So that story is detailed certainly in the book, which is one of one of the enjoyable stories that you get from me.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you have any comments or questions that you want to ask Darrell, give us a call, 302-497-3414. That number again is 302-497-3414. When you first started working there, and there was a lot of empty seats or empty cubicles and all that stuff, when you finally left, or during the good years, before all the legal hassles came about, how many people were actually working at Publishing Clearinghouse?
Okay, good question. So when I started, there were maybe 100 people, and that was 1973. When we hit our highest peak in terms of profit, that first year that we hit that peak, we had about 600 employees at that point in time. And as I said before, we were in the top 25 most profitable private companies in the entire country. And it's interesting. You say, okay, we had 600 employees. When you look at the other 25 companies on that list, you'll see they had 10,000 employees, 8,000 employees. We had 600. Now, we needed more like 1,200 to handle the sales and the mail and what was going on. So we needed twice that number, but we grew so fast that we couldn't hire as many people as we needed. Mm-hmm. So when we hit our peak, we had 600. We actually grew about 4 years later in the 90s, I guess late 1990s, we had about 1,000 employees at that point in time. And that was the peak. And right at the peak, when we had right about 1,000 employees, we had our highest profit level, and we'll probably get into this later if you want to talk about it. But that's the point where we hit a wall, and we hit a legal problem, and the bottom dropped out. So we hit our pinnacle, and then everything just completely fell apart. Mm. So to answer your question, George, we grew to about 1,000 was our maximum employees.
Wow. You guys were everywhere with your commercials, and we'd see the prize patrol arriving and people, doing all the things that that people do when they win something. Whose idea was the prize patrol?
Well, it's interesting. Most of the great ideas, and there are probably only 5 to 10 of those great ideas over my tenure there, were one individual. And the prize patrol is an example. And this individual is still there. His name is Todd Sloan. He invented the prize patrol. He went to management and he said, "You know what? Let's film the winners live." And we laughed at him. We said, "You can't do that. I mean, what if they say something they're not supposed to say, et cetera, et cetera." Anyway, he convinced management to do it, and it was a huge success. So we started the prize patrol, and it grew to be what it is today. And this gentleman, Todd, a good friend of mine in the office next to me, had many of the great ideas that we had over the years at Publishers Clearinghouse.
How many people won? I mean, do you have a number of people that won from the time you started to the time that things started to come unglued?
Have is that since the start of the contest in 1960, 50 individuals millionaires, and they've given away over $225 million since 1967. And every year they give $1 million away these days. Our biggest prize ever was a $10 million.
People say that can't be for real. Nobody would do that. But yet you guys were doing that.
Well, we were doing it, and we were, very profitable at doing that. It was a way to get people in our stores, what we would say, get the attention. We got so much free media attention and news reporting from the prize patrol and the winners. I mean, all that media that you saw outside of the commercials that we paid for, there was a ton of news media out there and news coverage. And every sitcom, every talk show has had winners on them, has joked about Publishers Clearinghouse and the winners. So the contest really brought us in to being, if there was one factor that made us who we are and how big we became, it was the sweepstakes, for sure.
Thank goodness for that one fellow that raised his hand, huh?
John Minnick, he actually became a president of the company many, many years later. He was a president for a couple of years. And I'm sorry to say he passed away a number of years ago at a relatively young age. But he was a character, as they all were. And many of the characters are described in the book, and that's the part that the consumer is just going to love, hearing about these bigger-than-life, unbelievable practical jokes that these people would play on other people, and the fun they had with the employees.
Ladies and gentlemen, PCHbook.com. Get the book. I think what people is really going to like about this, Darrell, and I think you mentioned it earlier, it's not a book of figures and how-tos and do-nots and all those typical kind of things. This is about a real company, real people with real experiences, both good and bad. So it's almost like when you pick the book up and sit down to read it, somebody's telling you the story around the campfire, and you don't want to go to bed because now you're not sleepy. You don't want to get up and eat because now you're not hungry. You want to stay for this entire story. Am I depicting this thing about right?
You are, actually. There are quite a few people that have told me that they sat down to read it, and they said, quote, "I couldn't put it down. I finished it in one night." They couldn't put it down. I talk about, I don't give a lot of numbers in the book because I only wrote stuff that was interesting. Once again, I wanted to leave it as a legacy for my family. I only wanted to tell them interesting stories. So every page has interesting stuff. I'll give you one example, George. You're going to love this one. I talk about the management team and how mischievous they were and eccentric. I'll give you an example, and it's described more fully in the book. But we were having a farewell party for one of our managers, one of the lower-level managers. And it was a sanctioned PCH party, and it was still a small company at that point, maybe 200-300 employees. And the manager was leaving, going up to, I think, New Hampshire somewhere for a new job, and they were leaving on good terms and everything. So we threw a farewell party for them. And the senior management team, of course, went up in front of everybody, probably 150 people at a place where we had this little party, a lot of drinking going on. And one of the speeches, for example, was done by our treasurer. And I have to show a picture of this book. He gives a 25-minute speech, and he's dressed. He's wearing a coonskin hat. He's wearing a fur vest, no pants, just underwear, and he's carrying a chainsaw. And he gives his 20-minute presentation, his farewell speech to this person, in his underwear. That's just one example of the craziness that went on over there that's just really fun to tell about.
That would be a sight to see.
You think you could do that today, George?
Oh, no. And the same way with when you said that if someone would be flapping their lips, they would be escorted from the building. No, you just couldn't do that today, dadgummit.
Right. Now, interesting. I have a picture of this person in the book. There's not a lot of pictures in there, but I felt the picture of him was worthwhile. And right before I published the book, I had a lawyer look it over, and I talked to him, and he said, I really have to get this person's approval to put the picture in there. And I said, what are you talking about? He sent me the picture. He's a friend of mine. He gave it to me. He said, no. You can't put a picture of this guy in his underwear in the book. He's going to sue you. So I reluctantly said, all right, I'll contact him, and I'll specifically ask him, can I put your picture in the book? You know what he told me when I asked him?
Huh.
He said to me, not only can I put, and this is an example of how the characters of the management team, he said to me, not only would I allow you to put the picture in the book, if you want to put it on the cover, it's fine with me. Now, I didn't go so far to do that because I had a better picture for the cover. But that was his reaction to putting his picture of him in his underwear in the book.
Publishing Clearinghouse was the darling of advertisers and the media, and with people themselves, the public themselves. Everybody was talking about you were outgunning your competitors. How many competitors were there after things got going?
Well, there were no competitors for our first 40, 50 years. I'd say 40 years in business. No competition at all whatsoever. We actually, and this is an interesting story, and it's detailed in the book. There were many, we have what we call the love-hate relationship with the magazine publishers. Uh-huh. They loved us because they wanted the new subscriptions we provided them, but they didn't like the way we treated them. We treated them really poorly. The management treated the magazine publishers poorly, but they needed us for the new subscribers. And they were, every several years they would try to come up with a competitor, and we'd, blow them out of the water and put them out of business, and they wouldn't make it. So there were many companies that tried to enter our business that failed. But it was in the late 1980s, or maybe in the early 90s. I think it was the late 80s. Finally, we had a meeting with Time Inc., actually, the largest magazine publisher in the world. And this guy, John Minnick, was leading the meeting, actually. He wasn't president at the time, but he was leading this meeting with our biggest magazine publisher, Time Inc., who was at the time the biggest magazine publisher in the world. And he didn't treat them well. And after the meeting, the story is that Time Inc. went back and they said, we're going to start a competitor to Publishers Clearinghouse. And they started a company called American Family Publishers, who people confuse with Publishers Clearinghouse. American Family Publishers was actually started by Time Inc. and also the Pritzker family. And that's one of the wealthiest families in the entire United States. They own the Hyatt hotels and a bunch of other things, and airlines and stuff like that. So our competitor was started by the largest magazine publisher in the world and one of the wealthiest families in the United States. And they were started specifically because PCH pissed them off. And they started this competitor, American Family Publishers, and actually gave us some really stiff competition. And we actually, in spite of their growth, we did fine. And it's kind of an interesting story of how they got started.
They kind of mimicked you guys pretty well, didn't they? I mean,
say it again.
They mimicked Publishing Clearinghouse, I guess, fairly well, because people wouldn't necessarily be confused. They'd just get the two mixed up. Is that how it worked? Did they do that on purpose?
Exactly how it worked. They actually copied everything that we did. I remember having discussions with lawyers. How can they do that? What about copyright infringement? And everything that we did, they would copy. But apparently, you're allowed to do that in the business world. So they copied us very well. They had one strategy that worked for them very well as well. They employed a spokesperson that everybody, including the news media, thinks worked for Publishers Clearinghouse, but didn't. Ed McMahon.
Right.
Worked for American Family Publishers. He never worked for Publishers Clearinghouse. And there's a lot of jokes about him working for PCH, but he didn't. And they started with him to get notoriety for their company and to have a spokesperson. They needed a face to their company, so that was him. But he is confused with Publishers Clearinghouse.
Wow. When things were going well, and it's still the same today. I guess that's human nature. When things are going well, everybody's with you. Everybody's along for the ride. The media, they're all smiles and happy.
Right.
But when things get a little bumpy and a little stormy, boy, they sure can jump ship and turn tail and be mean, can't they?
Well, and that's exactly what happened to PCH. The media loved us. One of the secrets I reveal, which nobody knows about outside of a handful of people, and there are many pieces of information like that, but I love to tell this one, is you talk about the situation comedies. We used to joke about Publishers Clearinghouse, and we were on talk shows and stuff like that. But believe it or not, there was do you remember the sitcom Cheers?
Sure do.
Okay, everybody loved that show. There was a final episode of that show that was top secret. Nobody but a handful of people know this, but there was an alternate ending to the very final episode of Cheers that was written, that was actually filmed, but has never been aired. I can tell you a little bit, but I'm going to make you go to the book to find out the whole story. But somebody from Boston's most famous bar is surprised by the real-life Publishers Clearinghouse prize patrol in the final ending. Someone wins the big bucks.
Wow.
one of the characters from Cheers. Now, that would have been a much better ending to the show.
Yeah.
But it was filmed, but they have never aired it, and it's something that only a handful of people even know about.
And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you want to find out what it is, go to pchbook.com and get the book. Then you'll know. When the legal troubles started, y'all didn't actually do anything wrong. I mean, did you?
Well, it depends on who you ask. It's a fascinating story of failure and how to handle yourself during bad times. And I'm not suggesting that we did well by ourselves during those bad times. What happened actually was it was a single incident that occurred, and there was an older gentleman, I think it was in his 70s at the time, maybe even older, and his name was Richard Lusk. And in late 1997, he flew from California to Tampa, Florida, because he thought he won $10 million, but not from Publishers Clearinghouse. Mm-hmm. He thought he won $10 million from American Family Publishers. And American Family Publishers had a promotion that, what we say, went over the line and was a bit deceptive, I would say. And Richard Lusk thought he won, and he flew there to collect his prize. And there's a dozen or so other consumers that flew there as well to collect their prize. That's the single incident that, believe it or not, brought an entire industry to their knees. I tell in the book about the legal issue that the state attorney generals and the politicians, because of that single incident, started to attack the sweepstakes industry. Not just American Family Publishers, but primarily Publishers Clearinghouse, because we were the leader in that industry. And Publishers Clearinghouse was sued by every single state attorney general. And I prove, I think, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that we actually had more lawsuits against us than any other company in history. We had more negative publicity against us than any other company in history. Now, that may be hard to believe. And the short version of my proof is that if you go over, for example, two other companies that were hit by really bad negative publicity, mm-hmm. and you'll know each of these, George. Toyota, when they had their sticking gas pedal problem,
yes.
had the largest recall ever several years ago. 8 million cars were recalled, mm-hmm. had a lot of negative publicity. Well, PCH had more negative publicity than they did. And I'll go one step further. Remember the oil spill?
Yes.
BP Horizon?
Mm-hmm.
And how negative the publicity was directed at them?
Yes.
Well, it's hard to believe, but when you read this book, you will agree with me that Publishers Clearinghouse had more negative publicity directed at us than even BP had during the oil spill. Now, was it fair? You ask, did we do anything wrong? I don't think so. Did we go close to the line of doing something wrong? Yeah, marketers always go close to that line of trying to get people to buy their product.
Right.
So that was, that's what it was all about.
Any time that I see or hear of 50 attorney generals all hooking up and going after someone, bells, whistles, sirens, flashing lights, earthquakes, and all those things just go off in my head, because most people, when they hear something like that, they think, oh my God, what in the world did these people do that all these attorney generals are coming down on them and just beating them to death? Oh my goodness. And I think we live in a day and age now that if someone really uses their brain and stops and thinks with the current things that have been taking place and the things that are going on right now, that a lot of these things are strictly political, and they are to gain political brownie points. And
yeah, well, it's sad to say, but I have the exact same opinion. I've been given a bunch of compliments about how I handled describing our legal problems in the book. I give both sides of the argument, and I'm definitely not saying that Publishers Clearinghouse was squeaky clean. We were not. But the way they attacked Publishers Clearinghouse is, and I think I'm pretty objective because, I don't work there anymore. I have no more ties to the company at all. What they did to this industry in PCH is unconscionable. But you'll read both sides, when you read the story. There were Senate hearings on sweepstakes. There was a senator that went in the news and called Publishers Clearinghouse, I forget the exact quote, but companies like Publishers Clearinghouse should go to hell. That's a quote from a senator. And of course, you got a lot of press on that. Now, I talk about in the book, all of these attorney generals, they're sort of responsible for their lotteries in their states, aren't they? Very interesting that they can do a lot of the things in their lotteries that the sweepstakes industry can't do, and they sued for.
Yeah.
So I find that kind of interesting. There's a kind of a bias there in terms of let's protect our lotteries and let's go after the sweepstakes business. And basically what they did is they put the sweepstakes industry out of business. There are no more sweepstakes players out there in terms of the mailbox sweepstakes. There are still contests out there, but all of the sweepstakes companies like Publishers Clearinghouse, and it got to the point that there were about 10 companies like PCH. There was Publishers Clearinghouse, American Family Publishers, there was Magazine Marketplace, there were a bunch of others. There was about 10 of them. They've all gone out of business. The only one remaining is Publishers Clearinghouse. I'll tell you one other little secret, George. And I live this stuff, so I find it fascinating, and the consumer will as well. There was an industry that was destroyed. Magazine publishers went out of business. Suppliers went out of business. Sweepstakes companies went out of business. The whole industry was destroyed. But the single biggest loser, which I report in the book, has never been reported to anybody. Can you guess who it was, George?
I read that. Can I give you the answer?
You can. Go ahead.
It was the U.S. Postal Service. They lost, what, $10 billion?
The United States Postal Service was out almost $10 billion because of what happened to the sweepstakes industry. That's a calculation that I personally made. That's a fact that has never been reported before. And those are the kind of things that should interest the consumer and the business world.
Wow, this has been fascinating, for lack of a better term. It's an incredible story, ladies and gentlemen. Go to wow, I mean it's just something. Go to PCHbook.com. And get you this book. I know that's not good English. That's Espanol talk, but get you one of them. Get you one of them books and set yourself down and just tune everything out. Forget about everything else, because if you start reading it and you get into it, you will forget about everything else, and everything else will be tuned out. It's one of those books that when you come to the end, you wish that it didn't end.
Yeah. I don't know what to say to that. A lot of people have enjoyed it. I guarantee you're going to have fun. I guarantee you're going to laugh at some of the stories. There's no way you can't laugh at some of the stuff that went on there. And the success and the failure is just fascinating. George, I'll give you one other fact that nobody knows.
Okay.
Another fact that I calculated that's really interesting. Harold Mertz and the Mertz family. Very secretive, very private family. Didn't like the limelight. The Mertz family, this is one of the secrets I reveal in the book. The question is, well, what'd they do with all the money they got from PCH? All the profits that we made, what'd they do with it? Well, believe it or not, the Mertz family became one of the top 20 most philanthropic families in the entire country, behind names like Warren Buffett and Bill Gates. The Mertz family gave away almost $1 billion, $1 billion over their lifetime.
Wow.
A little secret that nobody knows, and that's another little calculation that I made that I put in the book to help people understand what happened with PCH and who we were.
I just sit here and shake my head and think of that phrase, a whole industry was destroyed. And like dominoes, that's right. Not just one company or two companies or several companies, but all the dominoes that was behind it. They fell like dominoes and destroyed a whole industry. That's not only sad, but it's scary that such a thing could happen.
Well, it is scary that the power of the attorney generals, when they get together, you can't stop. Mm-hmm. We used to have discussions with our lead lawyer, who was a Harvard law graduate. We used to have discussions. Why are they going after us, and what can we do about it? I remember, we used to have one-on-one discussions. It would be like 7 or 8 o'clock at night. We both worked late. It was in the midst of all this craziness, and it got to the point where I think at that point in time we had gone in front of around 12 different judges in different states, and every judge ruled in Publishers Clearinghouse's favor. Wow. So we could win every single legal battle, but we couldn't fight every battle.
Right.
Because you'd win one battle and you'd just start up another lawsuit. Because that's what they do. It doesn't cost the Attorney General any money to start up a lawsuit, I guess. So it's you. Once they group together, you cannot fight them, right or wrong.
I guess it's the old thing. It's the old schoolyard thing. If I fight this guy, I mean, he might be beating me, but if I fight him long enough, I'm going to wear him out. And we thought about maybe we should do that, just keep fighting it, but we didn't have the money to do that. Right.
And George, by the way, I'm not saying that PCH was squeaky clean.
Right.
We weren't, and I give some of that information in the book, but we didn't deserve what was being done to us and to the industry.
Wow. Could I ask you one final question?
You may.
That has always been in the back of my head. Did you have to buy something to win the sweepstakes?
I should make you read the book to answer that, but I will answer it. We used to get some consumers would send in their sweepstakes entries, and they would make cookies or a cake and send it in with their entry, or write poems or stuff like that. We used to eat the cookies, but I can tell you the only secret to winning is that every time you get a promotion, enter. You never know which one is going to win. We had a winner once who the husband of the winner threw the winning entry in the garbage can.
Oh.
And the wife actually saw the entry in the garbage can. She took it out and she mailed it back in. They were the big winners that year. So don't throw away the entries. Send them in. Doesn't cost you any money. You don't have to buy to win. I promise you that. I guarantee you that. It would be illegal to make you buy something to enter a contest. But there are no real secrets to winning outside of just keep entering.
Gee, Wow. Darrell, fascinating. Fascinating. PCHbook.com, ladies and gentlemen. Please get the book. I mean, it's going to be a thriller for sure, and you will enjoy it. The Naked Truth About Publishers Clearinghouse by Darrell Lester. Darrell, thank you, sir. You're a scholar and a gentleman, or a gentleman and scholar, whichever way you're supposed to say it.
Thank you, George.
I thank you for your time. Please stay in touch with me.
I will.
All righty. I have enjoyed it, and please come back again. Will you do that?
I will do that.
All righty, sir. Thank you very much. Give our regards to your family, and God bless you real good.
You too, George.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Bye-bye. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. The Naked Truth About Publishers Clearinghouse. Darrell Lester. Get the book. It's an unknown story. It's an unknown story. And it just just stop and think about a whole industry gone away. Goodbye. Gone away. Because of whatever. Read the book. Go to PCHbook.com. The Naked Truth About Publishers Clearinghouse. And I'll be back right after this. Thank you so very, very much, Darrell. I appreciate it. I know that you're a busy man. Wow. You were so gracious to come on the show. PCHbook.com. I'll be back.
Gonna sing a song about it. Like this, like this, like this. I said, yeah. Come on, come on, come on. Ooh, you call me sugar. I got my walking shoes on. See you, my sweet lover's lover. Yeah, from dusk till dawn. Ooh, I got a color.
Everybody's up and dancing and having a good time. Whoa, what an incredible guest we had tonight. Darrell Lester, the man who wrote the book, The Naked Truth, about Publishers Clearinghouse. And it is not a book of figures and, all the typical things that you would think about a business book. No, this is a true story of his life, because he spent many, many years there as a young man coming out of college until he retired. And he ended up being the senior vice president of the company. So it's his story. It's the story of Publishing Clearinghouse. And it's good with all the good things that happen, all the bad things that happen. It's about real people and real experiences. And it can be hilarious and serious, but it will keep you riveted to the pages. I think I shared this with folks before, but there's been certain books I've read in my life, and I'm an avid reader. There are certain books that I've read in my life that I was really, I could have cried when I come to the end, because I didn't want it to end. I know it had to end, but I didn't want it to end. You know what I'm saying? If you've ever read a book like that, then you know what I'm saying. I think this is going to be one of those books that you're going to get to the end and say, "Dadgummit, I wish there was some more," or "Wow." And I believe that you're going to sit down and start reading it, and you're going to forget about being hungry, sleepy, maybe even forget about an appointment that you had. I've been there, done that. Honest, I've been there, done that. I got so wrapped up in what I was reading. I was there. Like Walter Cronkite used to have the TV program years and years and years ago. You were there. You know what I'm saying? I've read books where I was actually there. I could smell things. Well, you think I'm crazy, but nonetheless, I could. And I get so wrapped up in it. I think this is one of those. Go to PCHbook.com. The Naked Truth about Publishers Clearinghouse, written by Darrell Lester. Man, what a gentleman. So gracious to come and spend the time with us on the George Espinlove Show. And I hope that you're enjoying yourself, because our guest was incredible. And now we're going to do the second half of this radio show with music and announcements and music and some more music. And then we'll jump on the caboose and leave the studio. I'm just saying. We have some guests that are scheduled. The lineup just keeps on coming. I want to remind you that next Monday night, the 15th, Monday night, July 15th, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on the Spreaker Network, we will have Michael Holt and the Tornado 500s. And they are going to rock this place apart. I mean that. We're going to talk. We're going to play their music. We're going to talk with them. We're going to play their music. We're going to play their music. We're going to play their music. We're going to talk with them. And I think we're going to have us a very, very good time. And then on Wednesday night, July 17th, we have a young lady that reached out and touched us this morning. A.J. Jansen. I mean, this young lady, she can sing. And she's a country singer. And I mean, this girl has got it all together. And in just a little bit, I'll play a couple of her songs for you just to let you know what you're in for on July 17th. So Monday night, it's going, and this is the 15th, this coming Monday, the 15th, Michael Holt and the Tornado 500s. Wednesday night, we'll have A.J. Jansen, who's going to come and sing and talk with us, and we'll play her music and talk with us, and we'll talk with her and play her music and play her music, and so on and so forth, and we can just have us a real good time. There's another lady that we have reached out to her, and she's very, very busy, and hopefully keep your fingers crossed, your toes crossed, anything else that you can cross. Hopefully we can get her, because she's another lady that sings with an attitude. I like them gals that sings with an attitude. The Gayla Graves Band. And here's just one of many.
Drove my car to Yakima just about a year ago to see the anthem at the rodeo. It was electric, really loved that scene. Checking out the cowboys in their tight blue jeans. I met the rider of my dreams, and when he left the shoes, he made me want to scream. I love the rodeo, the fun, the excitement, you can't beat the show. I love the rodeo, no place that I'd rather go. I'd rather go. I'd rather go. R-O-D-E, rodeo-deo. R-O-D-E, rodeo-deo. And with that rough stop ride, he also won my heart. We connected right there from the start. You should have seen him ride that Bronx bull. Stayed 90 seconds, he was wonderful. My Bronco Buster won the championship. When I'm in his arms, I feel my heartbeat skip. I love the rodeo, the fun, the excitement, you can't beat the show. I love the rodeo, no place that I'd rather go. When my cowboy traveled across the nation, was a rip-roaring, hard-ride sensation. We won in Yuma, Toledo, Calgary, Reno, Sedona, Fargo, Pasadena, Ellensburg, Salem, San Antonio, Amarillo, Denver, El Paso, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Austin, New York City, Pittsburgh, Boston, Memphis, Bakersfield, Santa Fe, Lafayette, Portland, San Jose, Huntsville, Wichita, Indianapolis, Kansas City, Lincoln, Minneapolis, Bismarck, Buckeye, Tupelo, Harrisburg, Houston, Jackson Hole, winning and surviving the long, hard trip, Mongo, Rider with a championship, Las Vegas. I love the rodeo. I love. I love the rodeo. I love. I love the rodeo. I love. I love the rodeo. No place that I'd rather go. I love the rodeo, the fun, the excitement, you can't beat the show. I love the rodeo, no place that I'd rather go. I love the rodeo, the fun, the excitement, you can't beat the show. I love the rodeo, no place that I'd rather go.
Yeah. That's the Gayla Graves Band. I like that. And we'll play us another tune from the Gayla Graves Band in just a moment. Do you remember that we had Titus Plumeritis on from up in one of the New England states? It was Massachusetts. He grew up in Massachusetts, in Lowell, Massachusetts. I think he lives just on the other side of the New Hampshire border now. But nonetheless, he wrote the book entitled Titus. Incredible book. It was an incredible book. You need to read about this man. His name was Titus. So that's the title of the book, Titus. Titus Plumeritis. We're going to have him back either on the 22nd of July or the 29th. I haven't figured out which 2 days yet. So Titus, if you're listening, we're going to have you in one of those 2 days, the 22nd or the 29th. Incredible book. Go get it. Google it. Titus, Titus, written by Titus Plumeritis. He's going to be with us either the 22nd or the 29th. Now, remember, this man is in his 80s. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, Romans, and countrymen, this man is in his 80s. He has more drive, more oomph, if we can use that. Well, we will use that. He's got more drive, he's got more oomph, more energy than any three people put together that I know of. He had an incredible life, but it was because of his desire, his persistence, his drive, his oomph. You know what I'm saying? And he didn't grow up with a silver spoon in his mouth, and everything wasn't handed to him. He grew up during the Depression, and you can read about that in his book entitled Titus. But anyways, that's what brought him through life. He ended up being a chiropractor, a very well-known chiropractor that served in many organizations. I think he still does. Started scholarships and funds for young people, and he's still going today. And he has so much drive, and he's such an inspiration that, if somebody sits around and says, well, I can't do that, or they won't let me do that, what do you mean they won't let you do that? You can go do anything you want to do as long as you want to do it because you really want to do it. You know what I'm saying? He's a real inspiration. So if you're down in the dumps looking for a tire, if you're down in the dumps and you're depressed and you're saying this and that and other things, my goodness gracious. Let me take this call. Good evening and welcome to the George Espinlab Show.
This is Titus Plumeritis. I just listening to my friend George. Giving me a very nice plug there, and I wanted to call in and tell him he pronounced the name very well.
I've got that burnt into my brain for some reason, Dr. T.
You did a good job on that. I noticed you mentioned the 2 dates, and if the 22nd would be better, because I'd love to get Angela to call in from South Korea, and she said she will stay up that night to call in.
Then you got it. July 22nd it is. Okay,
I'll tell her that it's a go.
All righty.
And I have a niece in Hawaii that wants to call in too. So I'm trying to get in touch with that party that was going to call in from New Zealand, one of my golfing partners there.
All righty.
So I'll get in touch with him too.
Good. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, Romans, and countrymen. Dr. T. Titus Plumeritis will be with us July 22nd.
Wow, you got that name down, Pat.
I do. I'm telling you, Dr. T, for some reason, and I have problems with people's last name. For some reason, that name, it just comes to me. It's burned into my brain. And I'm not saying this just because you're on the air right now. I mean this. I think of you every single day, at least once.
Well, that's very nice of you, George. I
You
can honestly tell you're on my brain, too, because I don't know how you can read so many books and remember everything.
Oh, my goodness. I love to read. If somehow I could read while I was sleeping, they could pour it into me. They tell you if you listen to them audio things, you'll remember stuff. But if they could pour it into me while I was sleeping, boy, I'd be grateful for that.
Hey, George, on a sad note, I'd like to mention to you that last night, the fellow that called in on that last show, Bill Moriarty, he passed away last night.
Oh, my goodness. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, they're having a special function for him at the country club tomorrow, and Claire and I will be going. But I said, geez, I that would be something I could pass on to let him know that he was the one we got followed up on his call there. I
Yeah.
guess you got mixed up with my coming in. I was off and he was in.
Yeah,
But anyway, I'm sure you got that under control now.
we do. We got her down now. I'm sorry to hear that, Dr. T. I
Yeah.
really am.
Well, thank you. When I go, I'm going to tell his son, because his son is an executive vice president of one of the banks, one of our local banks here, and he's the one who called me this morning early and told me about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll see him at having a special function at the country club in honor of his dad, because his dad is my classmate, 1949,
Uh-huh.
from Lowell High School. So I will pass this on, and I'll tell him I spoke to you, and you send your condolences.
Yes, I do. You know, it's so good to hear from you. It really is. And I'm going to play a couple songs from a young lady that contacted me this morning. She's from New Hampshire.
Oh, really?
Yes, and this gal, she can just flat out sing. And I'm going to play a couple of her songs here in a little bit.
Yeah.
And so she's up in your neck of woods, and maybe
Well, this other fellow I mentioned to you, Jay, he's one of my professors at the Apple Store.
the
I
Apple
see him
Store.
almost every week.
yeah,
And he has his own band. And he writes his own music. And I mentioned to him, I said, "Gee, would you mind if I gave your name to George Esplanade and have him call you?" And he said, "Geez, I'd love to."
sure.
So, as a matter of fact, he sent me his telephone today in case you needed his phone. I can give that to you, too. I'll send it to you in an email.
All righty, because I've got him on the list to contact him. So, yeah,
Okay.
send me his phone number if you would.
I will. I'll do that, George. And I'll let you get back to your phone.
All righty,
back to
sir.
your program, and I will start working on the 22nd.
Thank you. Thank you so very, very much.
And thank you for your kind words, George. I really appreciate it.
They're words from my heart, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
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 What a pleasant surprise to hear from Dr. T. Titus plumberitis. Oh, what an incredible human being, and his entire family. My, I just feel so privileged to be able to talk to such good people all the time. Here's another song by the Gala Graves Band. Wow, I got to get myself together here. I'm getting a little sniffly-eyed. You better get out. The Gala Graves Band. Enjoy this.
Another dinner just been wasted, gone cold like the night before. Staying up, just left waiting for you to stumble through the bathroom door. You smell of perfume and whiskey. Oh, it only comforts me. Ain't about to run around, fool around, do what you wanna do, sneak out, live it down. Ain't about to lie behind my back and love me like that and all over town. So I'm a getting good. Now that I get out, it better get out. My thoughts have been getting crazy when I think of you. I'm fighting the bad inside me. No, no, don't say a word. There ain't much time for you to leave. Oh, please listen to me. Ain't about to run around, fool around, do what you wanna do, sneak out and let me down. Ain't about to lie behind my back and love me like that and all over town. So I'm a getting good.
That gal said, I'm not going to put up with it. That's what she was saying. Yes, she was. Anyhow, where was I? Oh, here comes Fred.
Oi, 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 oi. Woo-hoo.
I've been sleeping alone in a highway hotel on Interstate 23. Far away from the world, far away from the girl I called who was cheating on me. And the bright lights of the city don't mean a damn thing to me. I don't know where I'm going. Tonight I'll be just south of Utah. Just south of Utah. I guess I'll have to find everything I left behind before we ever met. Ain't it fun, ain't it cool? Now I'm breaking all the rules I never wanted kept. And the bright lights of the city don't mean a damn thing to me. I don't know where I'm going. Tonight I'll be just south of Utah. Just south. Well, the morning comes and I'll be gone, but the sun ain't up till dawn. So I'll make my mark and never look back again. Just south of Utah. Just south of Utah. Just south of Utah. Just south of Utah.
South of Utah. That. And here she comes again. A.J. Jansen. Country girl.
What's a little girl like me singing songs out in the country? Well, I've been playing this circuit since about 10:30. Guess my wild roots ain't so blown. I've been sowing the seeds I've grown in this hip hop, pop, rock, country kind of world. And I've seen Graceland in Memphis and the Country Music Hall of Fame. I've seen the Southern Shore and the General Store where everybody knows my name. And I've been baptized and criticized for taking this road too far. Now I'm living on bars, deep-rooted scars and these old guitars. Well, the beat run ain't so bad when you play a crowd of three. guitars. I've been baptized in criticized for taking this road too far. Now I'm living on bars, deep rooted scars and these old guitars.
Let's give her a great big hand. Absolutely awesome. Absolutely awesome she is. I must say so myself. Anyhow, AJ Jansen, she's from up Connecticut way. I thought it was New Hampshire. Up from Connecticut way, but that's right in Dr. T's neck of woods. Anyhow, AJ Jansen, you look her up. Here's her website, AJ Jansen, JANSEN, music.com. I can't see with my glasses, can't see without. I don't know. I'm going to have to go by signals or something. AJ Jansen, JANSEN music.com. Go check her out. She'll be with us on July 17th. That's on a Wednesday night. Live in person. We'll chat, play music, chat, and we'll play some more of her music. So make sure that you mark that down either in your gizmos, hanging on your refrigerator, write it on the back of somebody's head, put it on your forehead or somebody else's forehead, but put it someplace you put all your special appointments and make it a date. Monday night, this coming Monday night, we will have with us Michael Hoyt and the Trophy 500s out of Texas. Wow. And these guys just take some swing, rock and roll, some blues, some southern. I mean, they take it and they put it together like nobody else can. They're going to be with us on Monday, July 15th, 6:30 p.m. right here on the George Espinlove Show on Spreaker.com. And this one, To the River, Michael Holt and the Tornado 500s.
I'm going down to the river, gonna do my thing. I'm going down to the river, I'm a killing machine. I'm going down to the river, got my baby in tow. I'm going down to the river, well, don't you know I'm going down. I'm going down. I'm going down. I'm going down. I'm going down to the river, gonna get my thrill. I'm going down to the river, gonna get my kill. I'm going down to the river, got my baby with me. I'm going down to the river, well, can't you see I'm going down? I'm going down. I'm going down. I'm going down. I got my baby in tow. I got my baby with me. We got some sights to see. Oh yeah! baby in tow. I got my baby with me. We got some sights to see. We got some sights to see. I'm going down. I'm going down. I'm going down. I'm going down.
Michael Hope. And the Trophy 500s, they'll be with us live July 15th. That is Monday night. This coming Monday night, July 15th, 6:30 p.m., right here on the George Espinlove Show. Oh, what an incredible night. One more time, let me remind you, go to PCH Book. That's all one word, PCHbook.com. And go there and get the book written by Darrell Lester. The Naked Truth About Publishers Clearinghouse. A story that no one knows until now. Until now. And it's more than a business book. In fact, it's not a business book. It is an actual account of the company, the man who worked there for 30 years, the family who started it, all the ups, the downs, the legal hassles toward the end, what happened to an entire industry, the funny things that took place, real stories of real individuals behind the secretive walls of Publishers Clearinghouse. So go get the book, The Naked Truth About Publishers Clearinghouse by Darrell Lester, PCHbook.com. Thank you, Dr. T, for calling in on July 22nd. That is a Monday night, July 22nd, on a Monday night, 6:30 p.m., right here on Spreaker.com. Dr. Titus Plumberitis will be with us, and you will enjoy what he has to say. If you missed him the first time around, oh my goodness, you missed it. But he'll be with us July 22nd at 6:30 p.m. right here on the George Espinlove Show. On the 17th of July, the young lady's music that we just played, A.J. Jansen, will be with us live, and we'll be featuring her music. Tomorrow night, I want you to join me at 6:30 p.m. It's always 6:30 p.m., Monday through Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on Spreaker.com. I sure do thank you for joining me tonight, hanging with me. I thank each and every one of you that will listen to this later. I trust that you will be entertained. I trust that you will learn something, you'll be informed, and most of all, something that was said or done will cause you to think, because we are still individuals, and we need to think for ourselves. Until tomorrow night, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, Romans, and countrymen, I want you to know that there is a lot of love, I mean continuous love, that comes to you from the Funny Farm. I mean that from all of us. Charlie, my mom, Travis, Cindy, the chief psychiatrist, everyone here at the Funny Farm, including yours truly. I wish you have a great, fun-filled evening wherever you're at. And if by chance it's already daytime in your neck of the woods, then you have a great day. But until then, wherever you're at, whatever it is, remember, don't you dare take any wooden nickels. Be kind one to another, help one another, and remember, Grandma Strayer that's got her eye on you. Till tomorrow night, good night, everybody.